Grab your cup. You know, one of the things that I've learned, first starting with myself and then with my clients, is that one of the hardest things to really shift, or the things that maybe we're most nervous about or afraid of shifting, is how we feel our emotions. People are just afraid of emotions. I was, and a lot of my clients say the same thing. So here's what I want to offer to you. Think about this. Think about, you go out to a wonderful restaurant for dinner, right? You got on a great outfit, you've got your fancy pocketbook, and you go out to dinner, and then you order dessert. Maybe you save some room for dessert, so you have some of your dinner put aside to take home, and then you order some dessert, but you only have a couple bites of that, so you put that in another container, and you take those takeout containers with really good food, and you put it in your bag, and you get home, but it's late, you go to bed, you forget. And you put the bag in your closet and you forget to take the food out. Hopefully that never really happens to you, right? But you forget to take the food out. And some time goes by, and eventually pretty quickly, the food is going to be bad, right? Maybe it was salmon or chicken, and your dessert, which was so delicious, is gonna start to get old and crusty. And more time goes by, and more time. And maybe you only use that pocketbook every so often for special occasions. And now that food, because they only put it in like a cardboard container, so now that food, as it's rotting, is leaking out of the container and into your pocketbook. And now the lining of your pocketbook is getting stained and ruined. So the food, there was nothing wrong with it. It was really good food. But when it stayed in your pocketbook and it didn't get eaten, it didn't get handled, it stayed in your pocketbook, over time it becomes rotten. Maybe you have the pocketbook zipped up and it's in your closet, so you're not smelling it right away, and now it's ruining the inside of your really good bag. That's what happens with emotions that we don't process for whatever reason. We just didn't have the ability when they showed up. Nobody really showed us how. Nobody gave us the space. When I grew up, in my house, there was not a lot of emotion being shown. We were very stoic, stiff upper lip, just deal with it, all of that kind of stuff. But those emotions, there's nothing wrong with them when they start out. We're supposed to have them. There's a reason to have anger. There's a reason for sadness. There's, every single emotion that we have it for a reason. It didn't just show up, right? It's part of the design of who we are. But when we don't have the ability to process them out, when we're not feeling them, then they can be just as stinky and eventually damaging as the leftover food left in your bag for months. Just as damaging, because here's what happens. Especially when we have a situation that has a significant emotional impact. So let's say you're 5 years old, something happens and you get very, very upset, but nobody helps you through the upset. Now, being upset, whether that's anger or resentment or frustration, that becomes stuck in your body, just like in your pocketbook. It's stuck in your body, and now that is a pattern that's going to easily show up in your life. Upset, anger, resentment. So what I noticed for myself was I had certain emotions that I was really feeling all the time, even when there wasn't a specific or a real reason to feel it, like anger. It was always there in the background, waiting, lurking, sort of like my home base. It was almost like I had to purposely stamp it down, and it was an effort to feel sometimes some other emotions, because the anger and the upset, which I was carrying since I was little, was never processed out. So that's what happens for people. They get into certain patterns, and then that's the way life is most of the time. So learning how to release those emotional patterns, learning how to process them out without being afraid that something bad's going to happen. Because I think that's the message that a lot of people get. Mostly I work with women, and women think it's not ladylike to be angry. They think, and then what happens is they hold it down, and then there's an explosion, right? Which is another version of the food going bad, because that's not good emotional regulation. If you never express anger until you explode, that's really dysregulated, right? That's really not conducive to a good relationship. It doesn't help communication, right? If you're expressing it all along before it's at an explosive state, you have a much better chance of reaching good conclusions and problem solving and communicating well and moving closer in conflict rather than getting further and further apart. So emotional regulation and getting comfortable with processing emotions is a big way that you can free up your life from feeling blocked in certain patterns, because those emotions behind those patterns are there as their own pattern. We're starting next week, Set Yourself Free, which is a 12-week, very affordable coaching program, group and one-on-one coaching program to help you really set yourself free from these patterns, to identify them, get to the root cause, and set yourself free. So if you're interested in that, emotions are one of the things, but there's a lot of other thought patterns, behavioral patterns that you might find yourself in, and how it relates to your relationship, or how you are at work, how you handle stress, how you are with your body, whatever it is. That's what this program is going to be about. So if you feel like this summer would be a good time to get some freedom around all of these things, drop me a comment, put freedom, and we will reach out to you. We'll get your questions answered. We'll give you all the details of what that looks like. And if it's the right thing for you, we'll get you registered, because we are starting next week so that people can use the freedom of summer to free up their life. Get it? Okay. Talk to you soon. Put freedom in the comments and we'll chat.